Well, here you are, night 4, week 4. It's great to be with you again, and I really appreciate you coming back, right? Even that is a risk that you took, and I'm sure it's going to have great dividends as we think more about being that missionary disciples for Jesus. The readings that we heard, the gospel that you're going to be talking about, actually is one of my favorites. You find it in Matthew's gospel and in Luke's gospel. It's the parable Jesus tells about going out for the wedding feast for the king and bringing everybody in. That's the Spirit of God, isn't it? I don't know if we ever can sort of contain God's love. We try to sometimes, but God's love is so enormous and so big, and we are the channels for that. And through us, people are going to encounter a loving, merciful God. And that's why it's important for us to be able to talk to others about that and to bring them in. I remember a story of a woman who told me this once. This was on an Easter Sunday, a parishioner from many, many years ago, and she was telling me that she was having an Easter breakfast with her neighbors. She had invited her neighbors over, and it was like a brunch. And as she and her neighbor friend were in the kitchen, sort of getting everything together, her friend said to her, I noticed that you go to church not just on Easter, but you go every Sunday. And Sue, the parishioner who was standing there, she said, yes, we do go every Sunday. And I remember her telling me as she was saying this, yes, we go every Sunday, she was thinking to herself, this is my chance to say something important here. And so she said, right after that, we just find that we really get a lot out of it, that it really makes our week. That's evangelization. That's making the invitation. That's sort of helping somebody else to see why we go to church. And I think that's important for all of us. We need to be able to know why we go to church, why it's important, how it changes our life for the better. And when we do that, we take that news out, and more people are going to be coming in because they see that, because they see the change that it's made in us, the positive, good change that it's made in us. So if I could challenge anybody, let me challenge everybody this week, to go out everywhere. Let's next week bring everybody in, right? Especially the people who feel forgotten or left out or ignored or betrayed in some way, or hurting in some way. Let's bring them in, because that's really who Jesus wants to talk to. That's really who God wants to be with, as we know. Have a great time with one another. Please, you're going to love Joni and Steve are going to be talking to you. Enjoy their talk, but then really get into it yourselves as you listen to the gospel and discuss the Word of God amongst yourselves. And again, thank you. Thank you to all the leaders. Thank you to all the planners and everybody that put our 4-week experience together. Again, we'll see you in Lent as we continue our small groups. Thank you.
So hi everyone. Here we are at the 4th session. And so this small group theme was Contagious Faith. So a fantastic theme, and Steve and I are lucky enough to talk to you a little bit tonight about Matthew's parable and also the term engage. So if you think about contagious faith and engagement, and you think about Matthew's parable, one of the things that I found really interesting is that the invitation, good and bad people are invited. So it's not just for the non-sinners, if you will. But if you think about the small group experience, I've been reflecting on the first round of small group and now the second round of small group. One of the really interesting things that happened for me was an invitation to the small group. I had never done anything like that before, but I knew I was all in. Steve surprised me. He was all in. He was really excited after each meeting, and his faith and the contagious energy that he had with small group really was a great thing for me to see. Now, on the converse of that, I thought to myself, let me invite one of my best friends. So I talked to her, and I wasn't sure how it was going to go. You can maybe think of I was recruiting her. It wasn't a hard sell at all. And I said, are you interested? And she said, it's outside of my comfort zone. I don't like talking in front of strangers. I don't like talking about my faith. And then she paused. That's exactly why I should do it, is what she said. So she joined our small group. And so that was one of the neat things that I thought from an invitation perspective of the first small group. Steve's going to tell you a little bit about some of the things that he does in the community relative to being engaged in Contagious Faith.
Great job, Joni. Thank you. 5 years ago, I was invited to be one of the initial coaches for the special needs soccer program in Marlton. The special needs program is a beautiful program in Marlton. It allows players that may not be able to participate in the normal Marlton recreation sports or the regular Marlton recreation sports. It allows them to still participate. At that time, I was hesitant. Who has the time on the weekends to coach after I've been coaching for 12 years, 15 years? My kids were at the point where they were no longer playing, but I gave it a shot. And guess what? I loved it. Week 1 was great. Week 2 was even better. And now 5 years later, I've coached soccer, I've coached basketball, I've coached football, and I've coached soccer in the spring and the fall, and I hope to continue for many years. It's been a wonderful program, and it's given me so much, and it's been very fulfilling. I think God challenges us in so many ways to go out of our comfort zone. Just as Joni indicated with our friend took the invitation and ran with it. I think that's what we have to do, and I think that's what the gospel is asking us to do. To go beyond our comfort zone, to do things we maybe ordinarily wouldn't do. Pick up the phone, call a family friend that we haven't spoken with in years. Talk to a high school student who maybe needs that special pat on the shoulder at the time. There are so many ways we can impact the community. I pray that all of us may remember that God always loves us unconditionally, that God always is behind us, and that God is asking us to take the faith and the message of the small group program and push it beyond, push it outside the walls and out into the community. We've finished essentially, or we will finish the 4th week now of the small group program. I want to thank all of you, especially those who went outside their comfort zone to participate. Probably wasn't easy for some of you, but I'm sure you got a lot out of it. And that's what God really wants us to do, to go outside the church, to take our faith, to take the message and go outside the walls and bring it to all. Thank you.